The program that you're about to hear contains material that may be offensive to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Go ahead. Make my day.
2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to Right and Writer, the official podcast of the Washington Free Beacon. I'm your host, Elizabeth Harrington. You can follow me on Twitter at LizWFB. The Free Beacon podcast is still available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a review. Joining me from the right today is Free Beacon Editor-in-Chief Matthew Continetti. You may remember him from such mainstream media programs as Meet the Press Daily and NPR's Morning Edition. You can follow him on Twitter at Continetti. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Liz.
And further to Matt's right is Free Beacon President Aaron Harrison, who would never pay less than $7 for a croissant. We're not exactly sure what he does around the office, but he signs the checks, and that's good enough for us. Hello, Harrison.
You know, the thing is, I would never even pay for a croissant in the first place.
Up first on Right and Writer, President Trump is threatening to close the border with Mexico to deal with the crisis that saw 100,000 apprehensions last month, the highest amount in more than a decade. Quote, our detention areas are maxed out and we will take no more illegals, the president tweeted on Monday. Next step is to close the border. Always with its finger on the pulse, the media is warning of the dire consequences at such an action. As the New York Times reports, forget about our national sovereignty. Closing the border will lead to widespread avocado shortages. Matt, the horror.
You know, people love their avocados, but what my problem with this move, it was not a move, it's a typical Trump thing, which is to make a dramatic gesture to focus everyone's attention on a real problem. He's threatened to close the border several times before. He's never done it. Maybe he'll do it this time. It will be for a short duration. Reagan closed the border, actually, in the 1980s. And there will be economic costs, sure, but it will focus everyone's attention on the humanitarian crisis. The problem with closing the border as a policy is that it doesn't actually address the problem. The problem is not have to do with the border. The problem is our laws. The only way to solve this crisis, address this crisis, is to change the laws. And that is something Congress is not going to do.
Harrison, well, that's the Dems' fault.
Well, the Dems are the party of open borders. The Dems are the party of lawlessness. The Democrats are the ones who are going to wear this around their necks in the 2020 general election because we have, as the latest talking point says, the population of Albany, New York, sitting at the border every single day. Okay, well, why are we allowing that many people into this country to begin with, especially when they are unvetted, and we do not have the resources at the border to secure to secure the border? So this is a national security issue. Donald Trump is taking action. And rightfully so. This is his number one job as the president of the United States, is to protect the people of the country. And he is doing that. So I don't have a problem with him in this making this move right here. This is a good thing. And as for the avocados, okay, yes. You're trying to tell me that we are fully dependent on Mexico to feed our millennials? The avocado toast movement, the millennials have nobody to blame but themselves over this, okay? They're the ones that increased demand over avocados. It was an obscure fruit that only like strange people from California and South Texas consumed. It was a very, very elitist fruit, but now it has gone mainstream.
Is it a fruit or a vegetable?
I think it's a fruit. There's a giant nut in the middle, and a seed, if you will.
They grow on trees.
Yes.
So that would be fruit.
Yeah. We learn something here every day.
All I'm saying is that in America, we can do anything. Okay?
The millennials, this is an example of jobs they won't do. Grow avocados.
Well,
they should do it.
Is it really that, or is it just the fact that Americans love avocados?
I don't think
and
they
it's
do.
not just the avocado toast
It's
that
been
the millennials
forced
have?
down. It's been
guacamole.
forced upon us.
You don't like guacamole?
I do, but
Exactly.
Guacamole has
Plenty
a
of patriotic,
It's fine,
red-blooded
but
Americans
you-
like guacamole.
very short shelf life with guacamole. I don't
True.
know if anybody has ever
That's
tried to.
why you need the avocados.
Look, it is all I'm
Are
saying.
they in the
it's-
Mexican bowls in Trump Tower?
It
Or
is-
guacamole.
Probably.
Yeah.
I would hope probably the finest guacamole.
Okay, we
got
got to settle this then. We need to fix
Well,
this.
look, all I'm saying is I'm somebody who has spent a lot of time in Fallbrook, California. It is the avocado capital of the world. And they are more than capable of producing a standard supply of avocados that is not influenced by pop science and millennial culture. Okay? That is really what's driving this. There's a
Good.
bunch of crap that says that the fat in avocados is better for you than like fat out of a cow.
Right.
Okay? That's all I'm saying.
Okay, up next. Axios reported a bombshell scoop, also known as news we already knew, that President Trump is saving Judge Amy Coney Barrett for Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat on the Supreme Court. Quote, I'm saving her for Ginsburg, Trump has reportedly told aides, as Barrett is young, Catholic, a favorite among social conservatives, and a woman, making her an ideal fit to replace Ginsburg. The one-upping of secret drug rape ring allegations will be something to see. If Brett Kavanaugh replacing a swing vote caused a national meltdown with libs storming the doors of the Supreme Court, one can only imagine the breakdowns to come. Harrison, I'm actually concerned for their well-being if this happens.
I'm concerned for the future of this country. And the fact that Donald Trump has the foresight to know that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, at 86 years old, by the way, happy 86th birthday last month, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, way to go. You made it this far. The fact is that her simple state of currently being technically alive is a medical condition in and of itself. When you are post 85 years old, you can drop on a moment's notice, and Donald Trump knows that to protect the future of this country, we need to act, and we need to act quickly. The fact that he has already signed, or that he has put Amy Coney Barrett into the driver's seat of the replacement train, if you will, it's remarkable, and it's really well. It is something that will protect the future of the country. He needs to do this. It's a leader of the female population.
Yes.
And this is going to get me off on another tangent here, but I am furious at the cult of Ruth Bader Ginsburg because there's all these children. Lily Ivanka is exposed to so much propaganda today.
Oh, man, the
if you go to
indoctrination.
any little girl book about little girl leaders, there is not a single conservative woman that is ever mentioned.
Right. She
It
needs
is
newer,
all
better
RBG and
role
Oprah
models.
and
That's an idea, Liz.
Yeah.
You should do a children's book for Phyllis Schlafly.
Yes.
that's who should.
Wouldn't
Yes,
that be great?
Yes.
that is exactly
Maybe
who
I'll
we
take
need
some
as a
time
role
off
model.
and write this.
So all I'm saying is we need more national female conservative leaders. I support
Absolutely.
Judge Barrett. Let's get her done. The clock is ticking. RBG.
Matt.
Well, I don't want to pour cold water over this report. I'm sure Trump may have said to someone at some point that he is interested in nominating Judge Barrett to replace Ginsburg if the seat opens up. But I've had so many articles across my desk of purported Trump conversations that I'm continually have to force myself. You judge the man by what he does. Now,
Yeah.
would nominating
This does
her
seem kind of obvious choice.
Well,
but who knows?
yeah, you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, just going off the reporting the last time around, they didn't necessarily click, and it was it was important for Trump anyway to see her perform on the bench, which she is now doing. As I think she's on the 7th Circuit, but so who knows what the personality will be the next time if Trump has another appointment. If she is nominated, and I do think it would rally the base behind her, you'd have a religious war. I mean, a war of words. But the Democrats have already moved in such an anti-Catholic direction. There are attacks on Catholic judges who have been nominated by Trump.
The Knights of Columbus.
The attacks on Knights of Columbus. They will attack her on the basis of her faith, and they will say that a believing Catholic should either recuse herself and commit to recusing herself from cases that might touch on her faith, or not be nominated at all. And this is an important fight to have because the Democrats, in making that argument, are being awful. They're being awful.
What else is new?
They're against religious liberty, and they're trying to basically move traditional forms of religion and religious practices out of the public sphere so that the public sphere can just be safe and more or less established as the home of what you might call secular humanism.
It's more bad news for Biden.
Up next, Democrats have apparently finally gained the use of their eyes to come to the conclusion that Joe Biden is kind of a creep. Lucy Flores, a former Democrat assemblywoman from Nevada, writes about an uncomfortable encounter with creepy Uncle Joe in The Cut. Flores says during an event in 2014, Biden first put his hands on her shoulders. Quote, I felt him get closer to me from behind, she said. He leaned further in and inhaled my hair. I was mortified. I thought to myself, I didn't wash my hair today, and the Vice President of the United States is smelling it. A second woman says Biden touched her inappropriately and rubbed noses with her during a 2009 political fundraiser in Connecticut. But if you're looking for more evidence, I would steer you towards the multiple Free Beacon Supercut videos of Biden at public swearing-in ceremonies being very touchy-feely with women of all ages. Meanwhile, captain of the crew team and male nanny Rob O'Rourke is facing a scandal of his own as more and more people are coming to the realization that Beto is a furry. Matt, it's only April 2019. I'm scared of what else is going to come out.
I also loved the AP correction. The AP talked about the Beto rally in El Paso where he formally launched, and the initial draft or the post of the story said that he addressed the crowd in his native Spanish.
Oh my God.
And AP was forced to correct. I mean, what a bunch of idiots.
His native Gaelic, I thought.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
So
Ben Rhodes.
Native
I
Spanish.
disagree with Ben Rhodes literally about everything.
Yeah.
But he was on point in that article on the echo chamber when he said that the political press in this country is made up of 24-year-olds who don't have a clue.
Right.
And you just look at that article and say, oh, Beto's native Spanish. You're absolutely right. Biden. Biden's behavior, I think, is what one would be used to from a traditional backslapping Irish Paul, which is what he is.
Yeah.
And it's one more piece of evidence that his age
is a real
makes
problem.
him out of step with the current Democratic Party. The headline I saw in the New York Times today said that another woman says Biden made her uncomfortable. Well, what uncomfortable? I mean, I'm uncomfortable 4 times a day. It doesn't mean that the people who make me uncomfortable should be forbidden from holding public office, though maybe in some cases they ought to. It's a circumstantial thing. And the final point I'd make is last week in talking about Anita Hill, Biden said that we need to replace our form of white man's justice
Culture,
system,
yeah.
white man's judicial system,
No
the
due
Anglo
process.
judicial system, which is the system of due process.
Yeah.
And so, one can't help but just see him being hoist on his own petard here and saying, this is where the revolution inevitably leads.
Harrison, I did like the Washington Post headline, Joe Biden's affectionate physical style with women comes under scrutiny.
That is one way.
So affectionate.
That is one way to put it. But
But it's just so creepy. We've always
he
known
backslaps
this.
guys too.
But we've done
He
like
just-
3 or 4 videos of this. There's so much material.
He's a touchy-feely guy.
The problem is
Yeah.
that Joe, let's face it, Joe hasn't run a competitive race
Right.
in the modern era. His last competitive race was in 1974. Okay, that is 45 years ago. Okay, that is a different era. Joe Biden still thinks he's only as good as his last race. Well, that was his last race. In 2012, he was so cloistered off from the rest of the field, and he was not the one that was in the spotlight. That was Obama's job. Okay, he rides the coattails straight into the Oval Office, and so be it. Okay, it was not a hard race for him. Okay, so his most recent hard race was in 1974. 45 years ago, when you could get away with this stuff, when he was a young swinging dick at 29 years old running for the United States Senate. Guess what? Women like young, handsome guys. Joe Biden was a young, handsome guy one day, at one point in the very, very distant
he was
past.
the token young person.
He was the token young person.
He was the Beto
Right.
He was
of
Beto.
his generation.
Okay,
Right.
so if Beto,
He couldn't get the prostitute himself to the big donors.
that's right. Well, now he's in the game and he's back. The only problem is he's damn near 50 years older, and he is a creepy old man. Now, if Beto was going around and rubbing or smelling hair, doing the double hands on the shoulder, nuzzling, whispering sweet nothings into
Smelling
these
the
young
hair is
girls'
just
ears,
too much.
look, that's why it's creepy. Is because he is so much older. He is not a young, handsome devil anymore. Look, Bill Clinton can't get away with half of this crap anymore. But back
Right.
in the day, he used to do the 2-fingered handshake. He could go over and say, "Hey, baby, you want to come meet me in my hotel
don't
room
need-
after room?" And it wouldn't be in the press.
Just leave that
So
unaddressed.
listen, the
Just let him
fact
finish
is
his
that
speech.
is that Bill Clinton could get away with it back in the day.
Right.
He can't do it anymore because he's over 70.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is damn near 80 years old. You can't do it. It is creepy when old dudes do it. And unfortunately, Joe Biden is Peter Pan. He never grew up.
All right, now it's time to check in once again with our favorite Dr. Leonard Pondriver, Vice President of the David Gergen Institute for Excellence in Bipartisanship. Hello, Dr. P.
Guten Tag.
He's just back from Germany.
Yeah.
I like to say hello in as many languages as possible.
So
He's
diverse.
like Pete Buttigieg.
Yes. So I hear you have some thoughts on the Biden stories.
I do, but before I do, I just want to address something that Matthew said earlier.
Okay.
As a humanist,
Yeah.
we are not terribly secular. We often will. We have our own prayers of Beatles lyrics, quoting Bertrand Russell,
Right.
Deepak Chopra.
That you
We
have
we have many rituals that are
Yeah.
deeply spiritual, and just because we do not believe in a God per se,
Right.
does not mean that we are secular. So I would just say,
So you're
Spiritual, not religious.
Spiritually,
I'm just
humanist.
saying that
You're like Beto.
I feel that this program, is going a long way by having me to sort of reach out to different communities.
we try to have
It's
both
Really
not a
have.
very safe space for other humanists.
Really expanded our
And
audience.
I just wanted to correct the record that not all humanists
Well,
are so
don't-
quote unquote secular. That
Don't.
is all
I
would-
did not mean to other you.
Thank you.
I was just saying. I was just describing what I view as the political philosophy, the spiritual philosophy of the religious of the progressive left.
Well, I would say that it's not just the progressive left. There are
Okay.
many bipartisans who love humanism.
Okay.
I just wanted
I'm
to
a
clear
humanist in the Renaissance sense. I think we should be.
That. Right, that is for further conversation.
All right. Might
I'd like
be
to
a
give you
little
a
bit.
book called Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which you may,
That's more
which
your.
I find so enlightening.
Is that part of your Deepak Chopra reading group?
Yes, it is. Anyway,
But Biden.
on Biden, this is such a hard question in so many ways. I have, the Gergen Institute has been all over the map since the scandal broke.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, our first thought was, now that Bob Mueller is done investigating Russia, perhaps he can, get a handle on how many women have been
Right.
inappropriately touched. How many women have been inappropriately hugged? How many women's hair have been inappropriately smelled? So we can get a full accounting of this problem.
It
Because
might take 2 years.
Joe Biden's been in public life for so long. Some of us at the Institute, we talked about the idea of a kind of South Africa Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where you would have a chance for the victims of Joe Biden's unwanted physical advances to confront their abuser, as it were. And, while there would be no legal penalties, it would be an opportunity for healing and getting, sort of correcting the public record, because we'd have to think this goes back quite a long
I
way.
could see this becoming like a Gergen Institute cruise, an annual cruise of reconciliation and
I
forgiveness.
like that.
But then I really started thinking about it because I'm a boomer. And as a boomer, I remember Woodstock.
Were you
And
there?
I was at Woodstock. As a matter of fact, I was. I was there to see Sha Na Na and Country Joe and the Fish. Those were my top headliners. But I got turned on to Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Oh,
so
that was it. Okay.
And a guy by the name of Neil Young. Who was
Yeah. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Pretty good folk singer there. I do. Anyway, my generation, we're huggers. That's what we do. We hug each other. When we go through the generations, Generation X and now millennials, they're not. So what does that mean? National conversation on hugging.
Seriously,
Because we
could
can
get
demonize Joe
Al
Biden. We can
Franken
say-
in there. We could get Cory Booker.
I want Franken. I want Booker, and then I want this. What is her name? Lisa Flores.
Yeah, Lucy.
Lucy. Flores.
Lucy Flores. I apologize if she's listening.
Offensive.
I'm very sorry. I did not mean to.
Sexist.
David Gergen might learn about that.
Yeah.
Slip up.
Is he still on suspension, by the way, for the prison rape joke that he made on air?
There's still the committee's
don't
still
bring that up.
working
That's-
on.
He's
the-
back on
they're still
CNN.
working on the name.
I saw
One
him.
slip of the tongue is not going to define the Gergen legacy.
Right.
All right? We dealt with that a few shows ago. We don't have to deal with it now again. But my point is that maybe this is a moment for a national conversation because the boundaries for Joe Biden, where it was okay to smell someone's hair. I mean, I remember these wonderful shampoo commercials of the early 1970s. Everyone wanted someone to smell their hair and say, "Look at me, I'm using Prel." That kind of thing. So,
Doc, just real quick, what type of shampoo do you use currently?
that is undisclosed right now. I don't want to get into it, but it involves dandruff. But okay. So this is an opportunity for healing. It's an opportunity for dialogue. That's
Always.
what we're about.
Yeah.
And I would just hope that Joe Biden can take that opportunity. And I think he's shown that he's got some respect for these victims. And it's interesting to see different Democrats of different generations. We saw Nancy Pelosi say it shouldn't be disqualifying. And, you know, we've heard from other Democrats who say it's a much bigger deal. So it's something for the Democratic Party, but it's really something for the nation.
Isn't there a danger though in defining deviancy down? Right, we've gone from actual.
Thank you, James Q. Wilson.
We've gone from
Yeah.
actual sexual assault
Sure.
to, Franken. It was a photograph of him groping. He was
Hitting on
groping.
girls at the bar was Glenn Thrush.
And grabbing.
drunk, right?
Yeah.
Well, so right. So there's no standard for any of this, and it's not. And even that, you know, maybe making advances on people in your work or line of work, or you know, there's connotation. Biden, what he's been doing this? It's all on YouTube. We've seen it for
That's
30 years. Why is it an issue now? I'll tell you why it's an issue now. Because he's the front runner in the Democratic Party. That's why they're doing this. It's clearly Bernie trying to sabotage the campaign and prevent him from running. And, you know, maybe he shouldn't run because he's had a terrible, terrible few weeks, and it's only getting worse.
And he hasn't even announced yet.
He's not running.
Yeah.
Well,
I have
if
said,
I could
not gonna
address,
happen.
if
Yeah,
I
we
could
need to-
address, this is why I have called for a national conversation on hugging,
Right.
as
I know.
opposed to
Right.
sexual assault,
Right.
women or gender.
But yet you're describing these women as victims. Is that the right nomenclature? Victims?
Well, I don't think
For being
anybody
uncomfortable?
has and no one has the right to tell someone who thinks they're a victim that they're not a victim. That is the first rule of politics in 2019.
Absolutely.
Victimhood
So
is
we
in
have
the
to
eye.
proceed from that. And so, you know,
Thank
as
you
I
for
said,
clarifying that.
I'm a Woodstock guy. We hugged and smelled hair all the time.
What were you doing in the mud?
That was
What?
foreplay.
What were you doing?
I was
there?
enjoying one of the greatest Sha Na Na concerts I've ever heard, is what I was doing. They don't make music like that anymore.
Did we? All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Pond Driver. Please stick around for
I would love to, Liz. Thank
the
you.
rest of our segments today in this jam-packed show. It's time to check in with our generational ambassador, Paul Crookston. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Liz.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good, especially because I have some good news for you guys.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the face of my generation has found love.
Ooh.
That's
Congratulations, Paul.
No, of course I'm talking about Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos.
Of course.
Stanford dropout, Silicon Valley icon. She has gotten engaged to a hotel heir, William Billy Evans.
Good for her. I think, you know, she's going to need some of that money from
Yeah.
this guy.
She has gotten used to a certain lifestyle. So for those of you who need some background, Holmes was the founder of the blood testing startup Theranos, which took Silicon Valley by storm. Got a lot of support from the Obama administration, other prominent public figures. Turned out to not go so well. She's now been the subject of books, documentaries, and even a feature film coming out starring Jennifer Lawrence.
Really?
Yeah. Now, the whole thing kind of went up in flames. But
You
thanks...
know, Paul, you're sitting next to an actual Theranos board member. right now, Dr. Leonard Pondriver. So,
Early
without
investor.
asking him his perspective on this scandal, I
Thought we could help a lot of people.
I had no idea.
Technology is very tricky.
it is difficult. You never really know what you're going to do.
Yeah. Theranos ran into some issues kind of related to the laws of physics, more or less.
Right.
And it was all very tricky, but her status as an icon among my generation is pretty much unquestioned. So seeing pictures of her, in funny costumes, hanging out with this guy online who's 7 years younger than her, by the way.
So how old is she?
She's 35.
Okay.
Paul, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Would you want to smell her hair?
No, I don't.
You
I
could
don't
tell
do that.
by
I'm a
Paul's
millennial.
cringe
Okay.
how any type of physical contact disgusts millennials.
It's true.
Right? I mean, you
We've
look
seen
at
the charts,
all the
the
charts about the
declining,
sex recession and
yeah.
everything, and it just apparently interacting with other human beings is a trial for members of this
Well,
generation.
we're working
Makes
on
them
a,
feel
on a
very
system,
uncomfortable.
We're working on a system at the Gergen Institute for millennials to sort of wear a pin that, based on the color, will say it's okay to touch them.
Oh, like a
or
mood
sort of
ring?
stay
This is
stay away, or like
High-tech mood ring, I
This
like
is
it.
the old technology from this damn boomer generation out there. Look, if you want to speak to the millennials now, you need to design an app. And this is going to be called the Consent app. And that way you will have an electronic written record with using maybe some
Genius.
biometrics that will allow you to
Consent
hug,
to a
hug,
shoulder rub.
kiss, intercourse,
Handshake, whatever.
There will be a list for every gender, all 85 of them, every possible physical contact that you could have, all 3,427 of those, and you will have it, and it will be able to. The cell phones will be able to communicate.
when I hear app, I think I'm at Bennigan's. What I see, or
favorite
like I hope,
restaurant.
is that like these millennials, maybe we can see them bring back jean jackets with a lot of little buttons on it. Stop the war, that kind of thing. And then one of the buttons would just be a button that would change color, or would be a color depending on sort of your level of consent in terms of just a greeting.
Go nice with the Mueller earring.
Yeah.
Look, I gotta say, Elizabeth
Right.
Holmes. If you go and look at these pictures, she actually looks like a normal human being.
She
for
made
the
herself
first
look insane.
time ever.
Oh, now she
looked
does.
like an actual animatron. She was like robot female Steve Jobs for the longest time. She looks happy. She looks normal. She looks like somebody who's her age.
Thank you, Paul, for this much needed update. Now, for a very special pop culture update, I am very pleased to announce it's time to check back in with our foremost noted pop culture expert, Natalie Johnson. Hello, Natalie.
Hello, Liz.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, just hanging out in the pop culture world. So
Influencing?
Yes,
She finally
influencing.
went to go see Lindsay Lohan.
Yes, I've
That
been gone
island.
all this time in the Mykonos.
I wondered where you went. It's not, I mean, you're totally blacked out on social media.
Yes,
I can't
completely.
see what you're doing.
Never posts.
Never post ever.
So good to know you're safe and sound.
I am.
Well, what's going on?
So Tinder last week teased a new height verification feature that would prevent men, and women too, I suppose, from lying about their height on the dating app.
Finally.
Yes.
Has this happened
Finally.
before
No.
to either of you?
Oh,
No.
yes. Are
I
you
haven't-
kidding? They
I haven't
always
gotten the
round
height.
up.
I have gotten the age.
Oh, I
They
think
lie
Lying
about
about
the
the
age.
age.
I got one guy that was literally lying about everything
Oh,
one
man.
time,
Yeah.
but it didn't last
So
very.
how does the height verification work?
So, in a blog post, Tinder said the new feature was being implemented to battle what it called, quote, height phishing, aka when 5'5" munchkin men pretend that they're 6 foot or above. To verify height, Tinder.
Such phonies.
I know. Tinder said users had to take a screenshot of themselves standing next to a commercial building, and that would somehow verify their height.
Okay, this doesn't really sound like it's going to work.
No, so sadly.
It's like they have to be to scale, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, my thing was, why don't you just take it in like a 7-Eleven door where they have, the height
Oh, yeah.
when you walk out?
That's a good idea.
Why do they have that?
I don't know.
I think it's if you steal. Not that I would know.
Yeah.
Again, learning so many
Yes.
new
One
things.
question Natalie knows the answer to.
There we go. I'm prepared. Sadly, however, Tinder revealed that this was just an April Fool's joke.
Okay, this is the biggest BS. April
Yeah.
Fool's is the worst.
It really is.
And this wasn't even on April Fool's Day.
No,
they did this like
they did
4
it last
days
Friday.
before.
They did it last Friday.
How can you? That's not
That does
April
not
Fool's. That's just
count.
lying.
That does not. count.
No, so they said that they wanted to raise awareness that only 14.5% of the U.S. male population is over 6 feet tall, despite numerous Tinder bios that
That's
claim otherwise.
really low.
It is.
We all think we're 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
We're all like Trump. We all
like if
round
you're-
up.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. I
If
mean,
you're
of course.
5'10", I'm a little over 5'10".
you're 6 feet.
6 feet.
Yeah,
there you go.
easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Easily.
mean, you don't.
And you
seem
know what?
Short.
We need that for our self-esteem.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
It's like that.
we'd be
Everybody gets a
depressed.
trophy. Everybody
Yeah.
gets to be 6 feet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm, for one, am very upset that this is not real.
Right. They should figure out a way to make this happen.
I
Because I
know.
think they got really good feedback.
They did.
From the
they,
ladies,
They had
at
posted
least.
a video and it got over 3.4 million views on it.
Oh, man.
And people were very excited. But then they, of course, had, guys weighing in, well, why don't you verify weight? Or if a woman has 10 filters or their hair
Right,
color.
so
Hey,
what-
no,
So
that's,
it went down like
that is dicey territory.
Yeah.
What
right there.
verification is there now on that?
None.
There's,
I think
you
the
just
only
set up a
verification
profile.
was it's linked to your Facebook,
Yeah.
but that's not stopping anyone from lying on their Facebook about their age
Yeah.
or
I see.
whatever. So
you could just create a. Not that I'm going to do this, but you could just create a random profile, and for all people know,
Right.
that's you.
Yeah.
Until finally they show up.
catfishing,
Yeah.
right?
They show up for the date and they
Yeah.
see that you like.
That's what I mean. It can only get you so far
Right,
because
exactly.
the false
What's the point?
advertising, you end up being at the date and you're never going to go out with this
I guess the
person
most
again.
it can probably get you is some
It gets you the
flirtatious
swipe.
emails.
Well, it gets you the swipe.
Right.
Which then I guess they hope that will then lead into their personality being so great that their height doesn't matter. But
Just
that ain't
sadly
gonna
not
work.
the case. All right. What else is going on?
Prince Harry has banished his former best friend for warning him not to marry Meghan Markle.
Oh my!
So it was
we had to get some royal news back.
I know.
on the
I'm
pod.
upset Goldfarb
super-
isn't here
I know.
to get mad at me that we're talking about the royals. It was initially believed that Prince Harry ditched his friend Tom, or Skippy, for his hard partying antics. But the truth has surfaced that he actually dropped his friend after Skippy advised him not to rush into marriage with Meghan.
I mean, I'm totally on Team Skippy
I am
here.
too.
She's
Did they rush?
bad.
They were together for a while.
No,
Not too long.
but why
Prince
did?
William also had warned against it. So
Yeah.
he was on tough
Because
ground
they
with his
know
brother.
she's no good.
Yeah, she's very controlling. So Skippy was apparently with Prince Harry when he got busted playing naked billiards in a Vegas hotel suite in 2012.
Oh, we all remember that.
So this is apparently all part of Meghan's quiet airbrushing of Harry's old posse. She doesn't want him around any temptation while she's having a baby.
It's like Yoko Ono.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah,
moving
she
in.
broke up the royal posse.
just a
What
buzzkill.
was the name of that band? That Yoko Ono broke up.
The Beatles.
Okay, good.
Got to keep you on your toes.
I got that one right. All right, perfect. Expert.
That was a tough question. Oh my!
Speaking of classic music, Rolling Stones' lead singer Mick Jagger.
Oh, I thought that was Keith Richard.
Yes. No, he does something else in the band. I think he was like the guitarist.
Okay.
Is undergoing surgery to have a stent placed in his heart.
Okay.
The band's North American No Filter tour, which was set to kick off in a few weeks, was postponed after Mick Jagger was diagnosed with some illness. They didn't say what.
Probably.
And you didn't look into it
And I
any
didn't-
further.
I didn't look into it.
Probably relates to his heart.
Yeah,
That's what
I
I'm
would
guessing.
say.
If they had to put a stent.
Oh,
in.
he's getting up there, right?
He's 75.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, he's still younger
that
than
written
Joe,
down.
so
He's
Joe.
And apparently he is in extraordinary physical condition, so they do expect him to make a full recovery.
That's good to know.
I don't know. I don't know about
When was
that.
the
He
last
looks
time the
so
Rolling
skinny.
Stones had a song that people?
I know.
No, the last Rolling Stones song that I can actually remember is in 2006 or seven. Around that time, they wrote a song about neocons.
Really?
Really?
They were anti,
Oh, shocking.
but nonetheless,
No wonder I didn't-
nonetheless, it was just nice to feel like I felt acknowledged. We
that's
felt
true.
acknowledged over at the Weekly
yeah,
Standard.
that's nice.
Well, it's no wonder I didn't know Keith Richard's name.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anti-neocon.
I
You
can't
only
do that.
listen to the pro-neocon.
Mick Jagger
come on.
outlasted the Weekly Standard.
Yeah. Ah.
R.I.P.
All right. Well, thank you, Natalie, for this much needed update.
Of course, thank you.
Up first in our culture round, securing its top spot as the worst fast food, Burger King is testing a vegan burger at its locations in St. Louis. Teaming up with Impossible Burger, a company created by a creepy Silicon Valley biochemist that created a high-tech plant-based burger that bleeds, made of wheat, coconut oil, potatoes, and heme, an iron-containing compound found in plants and meat. Burger King reportedly partnered with the plant-based food company to make meat better through science. The fast food chain released a video on April Fool's Day that was not a joke, revealing it tricked its customers into thinking they were eating beef instead of lab-grown devil's food. Quote, "That's impossible," one customer said. "It tasted just like a Whopper should taste." Well, Matt, exactly. Whoppers are disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, so aren't bean burgers vegan? Or most of them?
Yeah, but
anyway?
this doesn't look like a bean burger.
It looks like a Whopper.
It looks like a real burger.
It's artificial. Yeah, it's supposed to meant.
It's not good. It
No.
looks.
When
It's
was
scary.
the last time anybody was at Burger King?
I've never actually even had a Whopper,
And here you are.
but I know I wouldn't like it.
One of the iconic American
they're
brands.
very good. They are good. It's a
Flame-
lot.
If
though.
I've made it this far in life, I'm just gonna stick with Mickey D's. Sorry,
Liz,
Big Mac, I probably prefer.
I
Big
like the
Mac.
quarter pounder.
Liz, you need some variety in your life. You can't look. There's nothing
It's
wrong
true.
with the Big Mac. There's
I need
nothing
more
wrong with
than
the
just
quarter
this
pounder with
podcast.
cheese. Yes. Well, look. Feel free to expand your horizons, Liz.
Okay, thanks.
But I'm just saying, you need to get out there and you need to experience the rest of the world.
Okay, do you want this lab meat?
I'm not ordering. I'm not going to Burger King for a flame grilled Franken Whopper. Okay, I am going here for the classics. I want a double Whopper with cheese. I want it. I want it my way.
Right, that was
their distinguishing characteristic that you could say, I don't want tomatoes, right?
Yes. That is
and
exactly
then
right.
also they have onion rings.
They
which are
have
very
delicious onion rings. No, Burger King. There are not a lot of Burger Kings
but
in
they
our
seem
general
to be
area.
declining.
Yeah, well, it's just regional tastes. I mean, look, we're surrounded by
But reaching
liberals.
out to the
we are surrounded by
vegans,
liberals who have
We should not be appeasing the vegans.
There's a freaking salad stand on every corner in this freaking city. There is
The health craze
The
is-
only
is-
thing that
is
they
really
serve
out of
around
control.
here is rabbit food. It is like, get a grain bowl, get a bowl of lettuce, here's some spinach with some nuts on top. It is pathetic. And then, feel free to mix in a little micro gym every other block. There's a freaking exercise place to go work out every freaking 200 feet around here, followed by a salad stand. I want a Burger King in my neighborhood.
All right.
Yes, Dr. Pondra.
I'd just like to ask, what happened to the casserole? Why are there no casserole restaurants?
I've been trying to bring back the hamburger helper in my home.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I
I've faced great resistance. But I love that was my
wrong
comfort food when I was growing up in the 80s.
Casserole, meatloaf, Jello molds.
Fish
That's
sticks.
I feel that is some of the food that made America great, and we don't have it anymore.
Well,
Wow, you're sounding like a.
have you been to a Golden
Trump vote.
Corral? Have you been to a Golden Corral recently,
I
Dr. Conrad?
love Golden Corral.
Yeah, okay, so that's where you're going to get those. Golden Corral. You can go to Luby's if you're in Texas. You can go to what's another good one, Dr. P?
Well, I mean, I love Bennigan's.
Yeah,
of
Bennigan's
course.
is a classic.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, would bringing back extinct animals turn out as badly as it did in Jurassic Park? That's the question presented by the Washington Post, which reports on the Revive and Restore project, which is trying to bring extinct species back to life. The group is working on bringing the extinct passenger pigeon back into the wild by removing genes from modern pigeons and replacing them with passenger pigeon genes. One of the founders says the project is not about resurrecting carnivorous dinosaurs, but creating hybrid animals, quote, created from both living, endangered species and extinct ones. By playing God and tampering with their genes, Restore and Revive would like to do something similar with woolly mammoths, editing the extinct creatures' genes into those of modern Asian elephants. According to the report, Harrison, what could go wrong?
I have such a love-hate relationship with science and scientists. This
me
is
about
one
it.
of those
This burger.
situations where I actually would love to see a mastodon resurrected. However, the libs and the environmentalists are going to have a huge problem on their hands. The mastodons, the woolly mammoths, you know what they did back in the day?
What?
They were like the biggest cause of deforestation on the planet at the time. What are the libs going to do? Like,
What about cow farts?
what about cow farts? I don't know
You
that
think-
they.
Yeah,
The
why don't we
cow
get
farts
started
are
with the
bad.
real problems first
Well,
The methane from a
and
mammoth.
create a cow that doesn't fart? I mean, that would be progress.
and this is another thing about the food chain that I don't understand. Why are the libs trying to say that the cow farts are to blame when we are the cow's natural predators? Okay, like we will eat the cows.
Yeah, we'll solve that problem.
That's
just like that.
That's what's going on around here. So what is their
not
deal?
in India.
No, oh yeah, well, maybe it is. You know, there's over 1 billion people in India these days. Nobody ever
You should
talks about their
you should
emissions.
broaden your horizon.
Yeah, nobody ever talks about their emissions. You've noticed that? It's always about China. It's always about the United States. Nobody talks about the emissions coming out of the billion-plus people that live in India with their holy cows.
So I watched,
Yeah.
or I watched a few minutes of the Jurassic World movie that was on one of the premium cable channels.
One of the
other
new
night.
ones?
So I'm very much against bringing back any form
Right.
of
Why would
extinct
you want to do this?
life, especially once you start
It's
into
survival of the
gene
fittest.
splicing, and you can create one of the, what was the bad dinosaur in this one called? It was
Sonny
like
Bunch
the
doesn't know.
Aditoraptor or the Ultraraptor. It was a really big raptor.
Yeah.
Mega raptor.
Indiroraptor.
Indira-raptor, that was it. Yeah.
It was something like that.
Yeah, I think
Is
that
that
Anyway.
right? Scary?
Yeah, scary and just
Just
keep
stick
it-
with, kittens.
Look, I think you-
that's
keep-
what you should do.
yeah, just
get
basics.
cats. Dr.
Basics.
P has several cats.
Why can't you weaponize
Mm-hmm.
some of these animals? I think that was one of the subplots in Jurassic World. I am for weaponizing bands of raptors to go in there and kill terrorists.
Right.
Like
okay.
they can root, they can dig, they can tunnel.
That's an idea. Finally, space scientists want to pay you almost $19,000 to lie in bed for 2 months. Researchers commissioned by NASA are looking for women to stay in bed for 60 days to help them study how weightlessness affects the human body. As a reward, they will pay almost 19 grand to stay in bed. Matt, this sounds like a good gig. I think I'm going to leave the pod and do this. The pay is better.
well, Liz, we're going to try to make an appeal for you to stay. Also, don't forget that
It's just so tempting.
when Yang Gang is elected next year, we're all going to get our checks. And as the new owner of a pair of lovely kittens, I have to say my views of the universal basic income have changed.
Wow.
Because then, if President Yang, I could just hang out at home, make sure the cats are okay all day.
You really could.
So you're not the only one
That's thinking about
contemplating
leaving?
making a change.
Okay, Harrison.
I could do this. I do find it curious that they
You do have to eat and go to the bathroom also while lying in bed. Just FYI.
like I haven't done that before. All right,
The truth finally comes out.
this is how I spent most of my weekends in my mid-20s.
Right.
Hungover, lying in bed, flipping channels,
You're a pro.
pooping my pants. That's how it works. That's how we do it. Okay? Clean up on Monday morning. So, yeah, no, I think this is... I'm curious as to why they don't need men. Do they already
I
have
don't know
volunteers?
why it's women. No, I don't know. I think it's also in Germany, so
Dr. P,
I might be moving.
This could be something that the Gergen
Yeah.
Institute might sponsor.
I to be honest with you, I don't quite understand it.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's very special edition of Write and Writer. I'd like to thank our producer, LB4, and all of our Free Beacon guests, Matthew Continetti, Aaron Harrison, Dr. Leonard Pondriver, Paul Crookston, and Natalie Johnson. Thank you for coming on today to end on a high note. But most importantly, I'd like to thank all of our fabulous listeners for being with us these last 14 months. We couldn't have done it without you. Yes, this will be our final show. Write and Writer is going on an indefinite hiatus. I realized I need to take some time to find myself. The possibilities are endless. I might hit the road, start a journal, become a nanny. Maybe I'll make a stop in the Mykonos and join Natalie. A weekend trip in Vegas to see Goldfarb sounds nice, before taking a much-needed rest on a Mexican beach collecting sticks with Continetti. I'm also contemplating accepting a research fellowship at the Gergen Institute. But all I know is that all of Harrison's experts in the psychoanalytical community advise me that it's really time to leave the pod for the sake of my mental well-being. But I'll always be grateful for the privilege of hosting the most stacked podcast in the game, and it isn't even close. Until next time.